Welcome to the 21st video in the series, Foundations of Communist Organizing. Today we'll be going over my summary of the 1921 piece by the Communist Party of Italy in the section of the Third International, Party and Class Action. I've subtitled this, Vanguard Consciousness Transforms Mass Revolutionary Potential. In this text, it discusses the development of the party and specifies how the party should expect membership to fluctuate, advising the correct way to handle the proletariat and members of the party. It rejects the idea of opening the party, relaxing discipline, and demands and specifies duties. The class party is produced out of the conditions of capitalism itself, in such a way that it is a living, organic entity with a living doctrine, with a method of action based on a school of political thought it develops when it strives for a final political objectives. Because it is this living entity that is born within and develops in response to capitalism, that means that as it lives, it materializes, formalizes, and becomes more precise. To lessen that precision is to weaken the adaptive quality and survivability of the organism. One such precise development is that, because different parts of the proletariat have individual interests created from the division of labor, a more precise consciousness of the shared interests, abolition of private property, must develop. This can only ever be a minority of the working class, which develops out of struggle. This minority has the same general view of the development of history, a precise conception of the final aim of the class they represent, and have prepared in advance a system of solutions to problems which they have anticipated will emerge after their class achieves power. They are members of the proletariat who have come to the realization that the proletariat must seize political power, and are willing to take on hardships and struggles even when the conditions of the struggle look grim. They are disciplined and steady. The size of communist parties is determined by qualitative and political norms developed through dialectical repercussions of history, and we can't simply change the size of parties according to a standard model. In the first stage of development with the revolution far away, the party must be composed of small vanguard groups who have a special understanding of historical perspective, as they are in it for the long haul. For the longest time, support from the masses will be small in number, but as the revolutionary crisis becomes imminent and conditions intolerable, ranks will increase in number. Another precise development is the recognition that the party has two main tasks. First, the development of a factor of consciousness, which is the theoretical conception of the revolutionary process shared by all members. It must create unity of action and movement through education and development of class consciousness, with active and positive force ordered and bound together by shared doctrine and final purpose. And two, the development of a factor of will, which is the acceptance of precise discipline to ensure coordination for success of relevant action. Its principal functions to this are 1. Concentrate and channel the impulses originating from the movement of the various groups of the proletariat, and 2. Channel that concentration to the single final aim, the decisive moment. In addition, it must organize on the basis for not only seizing power, but also on the basis of what happens after. It must assume diverse functions with individuals entering into a division of labor that allows for the proletarian class to break the old social relations and establish new ones. This requires being able to deal with highly complex tasks, which involve synthesis of political, administrative, and military preparation, which can only be guaranteed by a political party which has a general historical vision of the revolutionary process and its necessities, that has a strict organizational discipline to ensure the complete subordination of all particular functions to the final general aim of the rising class. Another lesson is that as conditions change, even when in retreat, the Communist Party does not cease its attempts to affect the development of the factors of the social environment, which change the mood of the masses, which shifts quickly according to broader and complex dynamics of that social environment which the party is part of and subject to. While the party tries to act as a factor of revolutionary acceleration for the masses through education and agitation and propaganda, it cannot force or reverse the circumstances beyond its fundamental character. The party must draw its conclusions from international experience, and so its organization must be international in character. That structure should not change once it is properly developed according to its conditions, without the strongest of materialist analysis. The party must remain stable and at the ready, as the masses will come to it when the conditions are right, even if they leave it at other times. The criteria for the readiness of this are in terms of its efficiency at the theoretical basis of the party program, and a rigid discipline of all organizational sections and members. Anything else is illusory. From these, the Communist Party can achieve high predictive power through coherence and continuity of propaganda, which will drive the masses to our support when our predictions continually carry out. Though I'll put this out here. That assumes that not only do we have a platform, but that platform is popular enough and can reach people, and that they can understand what we are putting in front of them. Even so, that means that we need to have proper agitation. We need to have proper propaganda. And one of the main struggles with fascism and the like, and other such class collaboration, is that their avenues for propaganda and taking our propaganda and twisting it, as has happened many times in the past. This is actually a core part of fascism. It's taking, our propaganda in terms of class struggle and turning it into, for example, a racial struggle, crap like that. So we have to be prepared for that sort of thing to happen and combat it viciously. And we are necessarily going to be quite limited on those terms because the bourgeoisie happen to control the means of culture within the given society. They have hegemony, they have control of the superstructure through their control over the base. And that means that we are fighting a losing battle when it comes to this sort of things. Our propaganda, our agitation has to be completely precise. It needs to be unable to be converted into other formats. It needs to be very direct. Something like Workers of the World Unite is very direct as an example. And one of the ways that you can tell when something is not going to be very effective in terms of the working classes, class politics, is when it's vague, when it says, get rid of them, against the ruling class. Okay, well, which ruling class? The right-wingers have a very different understanding of what the ruling class is compared to a communist, for instance. So we have to be precise. We need to be autonomous. We need to have our own formats. And we need some sort of platform that is able to spread rapidly among the proletariat. I had an idea I called ProvDaNet, though apparently that's taken, which would act as a platform. But unfortunately, it didn't go anywhere very well because I'm not the greatest manager at these sorts of things. And I don't know enough about actual programming in order to set goals or participate in it. So it kind of was dead in the water. But if anybody learns anything, it's that we need a platform that can rapidly spread. And unfortunately, with the internet, a platform like that is necessarily not going to be particularly, shall we say, profitable. And it's not going to be particularly capable of sustaining itself. One of the ideas that I had was the use of effectively putting it into the hands of primarily unions, with the intent of getting funding for it based on union dues. From the perspective of individual proletarians that are part of a union, then the cost is pennies. But from the union, it's a certain amount per month, but they get to use that in order to organize alongside all other unions and have a place to work within. And the intent there is to essentially harmonize all worker organizations, not just unions, but other things alongside that. There's a lot more to it, and if anybody's particularly interested, just let me know and I can send you the details. It's not like I have any... I don't want to have any control over this. This is something that I think would be a necessary good, even if it's outside of the control of some sort of communist party. Moving ahead, though, This requires struggle against opportunistic leaders, the dismantling of other parties that confuse the working class, and the absorbing of proletarian elements from them into the solid and well-defined organization of the Communist Party, which does not allow any reactionary or social chauvinistic tendencies brought into it from these organizations to take root. To this end, the party needs to maximize efficiency and tactics to deal with such trends. It needs to 1. Take an uncompromising stance towards other parties, even close ones, while having an eye on the long term when it comes to any temporary alignment to hasten the development of important situations. 2. Keep track of disciplinary issues among membership, recognizing who is flaky and untrustworthy. Revolutionary communists are A. Tempered by experiences of class struggle and against opportunism and revisionism within the proletarian movement. B. Firmly believe in the revolution. C. Strongly desire the revolution. D. Don't expect credit or payment. And E. Wouldn't sink into despair and discouragement if the due date of the revolution was to be postponed. 3. Be highly distrustful of people who've come from political conversions. So like a fascist who comes to a realization, actually this is bunk, I'm going to become a communist. Yes, this sort of thing happens. We recognize that and we welcome those who come to such realizations, but also understand, even if they come in with very good intentions, which isn't always the case, right? Many times, in fact, not. They're going to have holdover, and they need to have that trained out, and that takes time. It takes time and it takes effort on their part and the part of their community, which would be the Communist Party. So be distrustful of them, but understand that eventually trust can be built, right? And 4, require accountability of individuals and groups. They cannot join and leave the Communist Army whenever they please. The fundamental criteria for the direction of the masses is expressed in the organizational and tactical rules the International places on all member parties. These cannot have a standard model of a party which guarantees the success of the revolution. Rather, they are inspired by dialectical materialism, based on programmatic clarity and homogeneity, and a need for decentralizing of tactical discipline. Finally, a quotation which I felt was too much of a banger to leave alone. Quote, One can create neither parties nor revolutions. One leads the parties and the revolutions by unifying all the useful international revolutionary experiences in order to secure the greatest chances of victory of the proletariat in the battle which is inevitable outcome of the historical epoch in which we live. This is what seems to us to be the necessary conclusion. And that is my summary of the Communist Party of Italy's section of the Third International, Party and Class Action. As usual, if you'd like to see the quotations I derived the summary from, then you can go into the description below and you'll find a link to this Google Doc, along with a link to United Marxist Pact Discord server, which you can join, and we would love to talk about this or anything else with you. Tomorrow we will be going over the 1921 piece by the Communist Party of Italy section of the Third International, The Tactics of the Communist International. Thanks for joining me for today's topical summary, and I hope to see you then.